and welcome here to TalkFCB, and welcome back to the channel here today, guys, after yet another disappointing European night. Now, how many times have we said that over the past 2 seasons? It's not ideal, it's not good, it's not anything that we want. But as always here on the channel, we are going to pick ourselves up. We've done it in the past, we've done it in much worse times than this. So right here today, we're going to pick ourselves up, analyse what went wrong, how we bounce back, how we continue to move forward as a team. And coming up today, we're discussing everything: the coach, the players, the mentality of this team. All of it is under the spotlight, it's in question, and it is all on the line today. So come on, get ready, and let's do this. Because let me first start by talking about the Europa League. Now, that's a competition that I think none of us were excited about. Let's be absolutely real about this. And I would make the question in the argument already, did we want it enough against Manchester United in terms of Xavi's view, in terms of the players' view? Because I think even without looking at Xavi's first leg lineup, which we've all discussed in detail, that showed already Europa League not his priority. But I think even if you listen to his press conferences over the past few weeks, when he's spoken about the Europa League, you really get the feeling that he wasn't that keen on the competition. Even after the game yesterday, he's already talking about Almeria. He's already thinking about La Liga. Maybe he already was. So Xavi didn't seem a big fan. And of course, the players, they're going to mirror their coach. If they see there that the coach's priority is elsewhere, that he's focusing on other things, of course the players, they're going to be aware of that. And I think when you compare us to United over the 2 legs, United wanted it more. The way they applied themselves, the way they came out in both of the legs there, the intensity and the pace that they played with throughout the tie, they wanted it more and they got more. They deserve to beat us over the 2 legs and head through to the next round. But here's the thing, guys. Don't think that I'm making excuses here for Xavi and the players. Don't think here that just because they didn't care about the Europa League, oh, it's okay then, that we've been knocked out, that we didn't want it more, that's just acceptable to pick and choose your matches. Because the message that I would send out here to both Xavi and his players is that if you don't want to be in the Europa League, if you don't value the Europa League as a competition, it's very, very simple. Do not get knocked out of the Champions League. It's obvious. Then there is the matter of Xavi Hernandez himself as a coach, and indeed how much of this blame, how much of the responsibility falls at his door after this European exit. And the first thing that I would say when it comes to Xavi is that I think it's often forgotten how young and inexperienced he is as a coach. Because we all know that he had a very long and successful, illustrious career as a player. He experienced all the competitions, highly experienced, but as a coach, it's just different. It's just a completely different ball game. There is no mistake here. He's still learning, and he is still inexperienced at this level. In European competition, you can see that he's inexperienced. Because you look over yesterday at his counterpart, Erik ten Hag, who's received plenty of praise after the game, and rightly so. Over the course of the 2 legs there, he coached his team excellently, I thought there. He made key tactical tweaks there at key points in both of the legs, and he's transformed this Man United team in a very short space of time. Full credit to him. But you also have to zoom out and say there's 10 years between Erik ten Hag and Xavi Hernandez. There is 10 years between them there in terms of their age and experience in coaching. And I think in Europe, Xavi still has a lot to learn because he's effectively here learning on the job. He came in from Al Sadd, arrived at a club like Barcelona, and suddenly you've got huge expectations in Europe. And every single European game, you feel like Xavi is learning on the job. And I think that's why I was most disappointed. And that is why the lineup in the first leg truly angered me to my core, because that was one of the moments, we spoke about it, guys, where I thought he hasn't learned. I thought that he was learning. I thought that as we were going along, we were progressing, we were picking things up. But that lineup in the first leg, the way there that he did the same thing that we'd seen in our Champions League defeats, that told me that he hadn't learned from the mistakes. And that's what we need from him. He is a young coach. He is inexperienced. But we have to see now evidence of him as a coach in Europe, learning and developing. However, let's get one thing absolutely clear right now, guys. It's not all on Xavi. I don't think it would be sensible. I don't think that it would be fair to simply say it's all on the coach. It's all Xavi's fault because, of course, he holds a certain responsibility. You're always going to hold that as the Barca coach, but you can't just shield the players from everything. They've also got to stand up and be accountable for their performances because I think, actually, there were big players out there yesterday that didn't perform. And over the two legs were not of the kind of standard that we expected. I would say Lewandowski, he had an unbelievable start to his Barca career. I think he actually adapted quicker than any of us expected him to, but it's undeniable that since the World Cup, there's been a clear drop-off. And I'm not only talking here in terms of goals, in terms of that final product, the numbers in front of goal, but I'm talking about basic things. I'm talking about hold-up play, first touch, looking sharp on the ball, seeing passes around you. It's the basic things here that I'm looking at Lewandowski right now, and I'm thinking, where's that gone? We've got to get that back. And I don't believe that it's a decline. I don't think it's anything serious like that. I just think right now he's in a bad run of form. He's not playing particularly well. He's not high on confidence. And we saw that over the two legs against Manchester United. And you look at Koundé last night. He has been spectacular throughout the season. Absolutely fantastic, whether he's been asked to play at centre-back. We've seen him play very, very well at right-back. But last night, it was a tough performance. It was a really poor display at right back. Time and time again, Man United got in behind him, really exposed him in that area. And I think there were big players that over the course of these two legs, over the course of our European venture here, as well as they've done maybe throughout the season, they didn't show their best level on the big occasion. Now, of course, as well, we have to mention there were key injuries in this team. No Pedri, no Xavi last night, no Ousmane Dembele there throughout both of the legs against United. And it was just like in the Champions League when we had key injuries there too. We can't forget that. It wouldn't be fair to forget that either. But at the same time, that's not really an excuse. Yes, we have injuries. Yes, we certainly could have done a lot better, I'm sure, if those players were in the team. But there were still key areas, key parts of this game that fell down. And that's not all because of injuries. Because then you talk about the big word. Then you talk about the word that I think has plagued us in Europe now for so many years, so many seasons, so many embarrassments and humiliations and failures in Europe. You can point it squarely at mentality. Because let me just say this, are Barca suddenly now a bad team after we've been knocked out of the Europa League? They're not a bad team. This is not a bad group of players. Xavi has not done a bad job this season. We are top of La Liga. We have shown right throughout the season incredible consistency. We've actually shown ourselves in many of the games in the league and domestically to be mentally strong. We've fought back. We've hung in there. We've ground out wins. And you think about the Super Cup success as well against Real Madrid of all people. Domestically, this is a team that's shown themselves to be very, very strong. What's the problem in Europe then? Because that team there that I've just described is not the same on the European stage. And I would look actually at what Sergio Busquets said after yesterday's game, and it was just a simple quote. He said, "We have to learn to compete in Europe." Now, the first thing that I would say is, I swear I've heard this before. I am absolutely sure, whether it was him, whether it was one of the other Barca veterans, we have heard this message time and time again, because this is somebody who's seen everything over the past few years. He has been there during some of the most embarrassing moments in Europe for Barca. But he's absolutely right, because this is when I can't help but look at Real Madrid. Look at the closest rival to us. They're somebody that we compete with in our own league and in everything we do. And when we're looking at the season, let's be clear on this too, I think we've been better than Real Madrid. This season, I think in terms of consistency, week in, week out, we've been the better team ahead of Real Madrid. That is why we're 8 points clear at the top. You can't get around that. But when you're talking about Europe, you can't deny what Real Madrid have. You cannot deny their ability to rise to the occasion. Because when it comes to a big European matchup, doesn't matter who they're up against, they don't care who they're up against. Time and time again, we see it, they elevate their level. They find a way. That's something we don't do. We simply do not have the capability in Europe to do that. Because you look at Tuesday's game there, Real Madrid coming up against Liverpool, their incredible comeback there, going 2 down, replying with 5 goals at Anfield. Just imagine if Barca went 2 down at Anfield. Now, unfortunately, we don't have to imagine that. We can all see that image very, very clearly. But just think about the difference in mentality there. Going behind, being put under so much pressure early in a game to go down like that, but then have the steel to hit back. We don't have that about us in Europe. We don't have the ability to respond to adversity, and this is what that does. If you don't have that ability to hit back, you're under huge pressure. Because I tell you what, every single game that we play in Europe, against a semi-good team, against a decent team, we still have to be perfect. You look at the games that we played against the likes of Inter this season, you think about Benfica as well last season, we cannot afford to make mistakes. We can't afford to go behind in a game because we can't hit back. And what that means in the biggest of games, it means you've got to be perfect. You have to be at your best every single time to go through, and that's not sustainable. You can't do that every single European game. You can't be perfect in football all the time. Now, Real Madrid, they don't have to be. That is the difference between us and them. They don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be playing at their best. To be playing their absolute peak football, they can still find a way. They can still summon it from within them to get through the game, to manage the occasion. And we just don't have that. And we haven't had that now for so many seasons. And we have to find it in European football. But I do just want to say this, and I want to make it really, really clear, guys. I've still got faith in this team. There is no way here that after getting knocked out of the Europa League, it's a disappointing night, it's a bad feeling, it's something that we didn't want to happen. But we can't give up on this group of players right now. We've still got games ahead of us that are important and that also mean a great deal as well. We have the perfect chance right now to hit back against that very team, against Real Madrid. Because yes, they can show that level against others. Yes, they can really stand up against any opponent. But the one team that can look them in the eye, the one team that actually know how to beat them, we can do that. And this, again, is the chance to send our message. It's going to be a cup semi-final. It's over 2 legs. It's a real opportunity. And let's see what this team can do. Let's gather ourselves again, remind ourselves of what we're capable of, and continue on this journey. We're not there yet. We've got lots to learn. We've got lots to improve upon. But we have to keep going. We have to keep fighting no matter what. So please, guys, do indeed leave your thoughts down below, because that is what I really want to know in today's video. Where do you feel that it all went wrong in Europe this season? Where would you lie the blame? Would you spread it there across several areas of this team? And what aspects do you feel that we need to improve upon to get it right on the European stage, to match our domestic form with what we can do in Europe? Please do let me know all of those thoughts down below. I will see you soon, of course, and there's also plenty of uploads right now over on MORETALKFCB for you guys too. Thank you indeed for all of that support, for coming back here even after a tough game that it was, a tough night. I really appreciate all of your backing. I will see you soon though, with more videos. But until next time, as always, Visca, El Barça.